It's another July day, and we are once again taking a look at the wrath that flooding is leaving behind here on Weather Channel Live. Molly McCollum and Felicia Combs here to break it all down for you. Molly, it's like we just cannot get out of this pattern where we are talking about dangerous flash flooding.
A very tropical atmosphere over a lot of the country, and all of our big stories today all center around the potential for heavy rain and more flash flooding. You're going to be hearing that for some time now.
Yeah.
And this trend, it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon.
No, and there's so many parts of the country that are dealing with it as well. You can see our national snapshot here today. We're continuing with those scattered showers and storms, heavy rain across Florida, and then yet again, Molly, many of the same areas where we've had severe weather recently in that bullseye again.
Let's take you to the Northeast because last night, it was a very
difficult, which of course, Molly, is so important to get that accurate data. The forecast is only going to be as good as the data that goes in. So these flights from the hurricane hunters tell us so much. And sometimes you see a big change in the strength or in the forecast just based off of these flights.
Especially when you have these disorganized systems,
right.
You know, when they do those low-level reconnaissance flights and they can find the center, they can find the wind speeds, it really makes a difference, not only for our forecast, but the model data, which, of course, we derive a lot of our forecasts from. Flash flooding possible with heavy rainfall. That's going to be the theme going forward with this, no matter if it gets a name or not, which, by the way, the next name on the list is Dexter. That's a new name this year. It replaces Dorian off the old list, and Dorian was retired for obvious reasons for what happened in the Bahamas. But you've got some rain, some heavy rain right now. Orlando to Daytona Beach. You can even see a little bit of the swirl of the low pressure here as we look on radar. Temperatures hot otherwise where we're not seeing the rain and the cloud cover in typical Florida fashion. But look how much of Central Florida is now under a flood watch. We extend this out in time and we take this from Florida where we're going to see eventually this area of low pressure and the disorganized thunderstorms enter into the northeastern part of the Gulf in about the next 18, 24 hours. I'd say that'd be the time frame. And it's going to push moisture from areas Florida Panhandle all the way over into Mobile and into New Orleans. New Orleans is going to be a spot that we have to watch really closely over the next couple of days through the remainder of this work week, despite the fact that we're not seeing a lot of activity around New Orleans right now. So exactly where this exits into the northeastern Gulf, how much of it is over land, how much of it is over water, that's going to make a huge difference in any kind of further development that we see. But look at the heavy rain that's pushed into New Orleans. That's starting as early as Wednesday night. And then as we get into Thursday into Friday morning, that's when the flooding threat really ramps up in the New Orleans area. And the Weather Prediction Center, so they put out these maps, day after day showing the threat for flooding. It's not unheard of to see a likely risk. That would be a level 3 out of 4 a couple days out, but it's not all too common. So basically they're going ahead and they're raising the red flag saying areas in Louisiana like Lafayette, you could very likely be in a dangerous situation as we start off the weekend on Friday with torrential downpours, tropical downpours, and depending on the strength of it, we really could see that flooding threat and the rain threat ramp up pretty quickly. This is Friday all the way into Friday evening, and then we bring this into the weekend, and we're still going to see a lot of tropical moisture present in parts of the southeast, and that could lead into some flooding risks even inland. But I want to show you the differences in the models because right now they're telling a very different story in the strength and the organization of this, and of course the flooding risk. The European model wants to put some extremely heavy rain from areas Lafayette all the way over into Lake Charles with some bullseyes of 5+ inches of rain, whereas the American model has a completely different story and it wants to put some of the heaviest rain over Mobile, Alabama. So Felicia, there's still a lot of details we have to work out, and with these disorganized systems, that is not uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time, and we'll echo it on this. This is a forecast that you have to keep checking back in, especially once we get that center of low pressure over the Gulf and see what it's going to do with those conditions. So
this is not the only place that we're watching flooding. I mean, it is a big story all over the country, and Texas continues to be a big story.
That's right. So let's talk about it because I wish we could say the forecast was looking better and we had no flooding to worry about across this region, but that is sadly just not the case. Yet again, we are talking about that possibility for flooding with flood watches.
Friday for parts of Louisiana. So we want to take a closer look, Felicia, at some of the cities that are going to be impacted by this, starting going in Florida? Because that's where we're seeing the impacts right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were already seeing some very heavy tropical rain yesterday, and that's carrying in to today as well. Let's take a look at currents today, but I do think it's going to be increasing in the coming days.
Sometimes when you have these really disorganized systems, you don't have compact impacts. You get the impacts that are spread out over a really large area. And unfortunately, I think as this low pressure exits Florida into the northeastern Gulf, initially we're going to see very far-reaching impacts as far as the rip currents and the rain, and maybe even some gusty winds too.
Anytime you have something in the Gulf, it's immediately changing the forecast. It's increasing the beach erosion, the wave heights. It's making it more dangerous to swim. It doesn't even have to be a powerful hurricane in the Gulf. Even that low pressure is going to increase these beach hazards. So it's important to know your flags. If you see those double red, shouldn't be swimming.
And it doesn't even have to be raining where you are at the beach, but to still feel some of these impacts, especially with the rip currents and some of the rough surf. Maybe we have the rain that's just to your west, but you're still feeling the pull of the currents in places where we could have what by all accounts, what looks to be a perfect beach day.
Right, exactly. And that's part of the problem, right? Because it is a perfect beach day, and then you've got these rip currents, or you're finally getting a break in the bands of rain, and you want to get out there and enjoy a bit, but there's still that risk for rip currents. Panama City, around the beach, hit or miss storms for tomorrow. It does look pretty stormy on Thursday into Friday.
And by the way, if you have beach plans, just go talk to one of the lifeguards. They know how to find those rip currents. They're always looking out for them. They're also looking out for the wildlife in the water too. And so just go talk to them. Ask, hey, is it okay to get in the water? And where would you recommend?
Right, exactly. Gulf Shore is another place that's going to be quite stormy. Now, this is all dependent on what this system ends up doing and where it ends up tracking. This forecast could shift. It could become more refined. That's why you got to stay tuned.
And places like Biloxi over into Louisiana, those are certainly spots that we're watching for not only thunderstorms, but extremely heavy rainfall.